All right. So, Bob, welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So, let me tell everybody why we're here. This is one of the happiest times of my life, and who better to share it with my great friend Bob Issel. Now, I'm serious. So, it took 53 years for my Knicks to win the NBA championship. Now, Bob relates because he's a sports guy in many ways. But people who are not followers of sports, like my father, for example, he never understood my fanaticism and the joy that one feels and the agony that one feels from losing. So we're taking advantage of the opportunity. Before I get to the whole Knicks and Jason Brunson thing, so leaving Brunson out, tell your career as a sports official, because that is a great life. I mean, if you love sports and that's what you do for a living, that's
Yeah,
just a great. And I'm not sure how much people actually know.
right. Well, I started umpiring softball in the mid 1980s, just recreational adult softball. Oops, my phone is ringing. Let me. Um, yeah, so I started doing Dundee Township Park District softball back in the mid 1980s, and the man that I worked for, John Bell, liked the way I worked. He goes, "I think you'd make a good basketball official. Have you ever thought about refereeing basketball?" And I'm like, no, I haven't, and it took me some time. Actually, it took over a decade. And finally in 19, I should preface this, I did start refereeing basketball, but I was doing Park District Men's League, cutting my teeth on that, which is pretty physical basketball, doing the men's league games. It wasn't until 1999 that I registered to do high school basketball. And at that point, I'd probably done, about 8 or 9 years of refereeing the Park District and the men's league. And my friends were always telling me, "Hey, you're good enough to be doing high school. You should be doing high school." So I did, and I started out on the underclass level only for about a year, and then all the assigners started giving me varsity games, and yeah, so from about 2000 on, I worked varsity basketball games. And then in 2022, well, back in 2020, I was supposed to referee the boys' IHSA state finals, but COVID happened. Right before our sectional finals, everything got shut down and they shut down the rest of the tournament. So it wasn't until 2022 that they had the next tournament. And I was fortunate to be selected to referee downstate here in Illinois. And I refereed the 3A boys state final, which ended up being a double overtime thriller with a shot at the buzzer winning it. The winning shot was highlighted on SportsCenter that night in the top 10. So it was pretty exciting.
Really? So you ever have players give you a hard time on calls?
Not so, high school players are pretty good at keeping their composure. Usually with the officials, they're pretty good. Sometimes they'll get out of hand with another player and we'll have to step in, maybe issue a technical foul or a warning. But for the most part, high school players are pretty good when it comes to you know, taking what we call
Right.
through the
So,
course of the game.
so what do you ref besides high school basketball? You do other sports.
Yeah, I still do a lot of recreational softball. I do flag football, which is a growing sport. Here in Illinois, we're on year 3 now, I believe, of girls flag football, and it's just grown leaps and bounds.
Really? I didn't know
Oh,
girls flag because that's kind of rough.
girls flag, and it's going to be an Olympic event, as will men. The men are going to be playing flag football in the Olympics, and I see that growing, and I see it eventually. I don't want to say it's going to overtake tackle football here, but it's going to rival tackle football here in Illinois because there will be at some point there's going to be boys flag football too.
And you also do softball. I know that.
Yeah, well, but I don't do IHSA wise. I just do flag football and basketball,
Okay.
but I do a lot of recreational softball.
Okay. Now, unless you've been on another planet, everybody in the world knows the New York Knicks won the NBA championship last month. Now, here in New York, people who don't know anything, they think half of the city's last name is Brunson because everybody's walking around wearing that name. Now, right now, there is nobody bigger in the world in sports than Jalen Brunson. I don't just mean basketball. The four major North American professional team sports: baseball, football, basketball, hockey. Jason Brunson is like God. Right now, hold on. Let me do the screen share if I know how to do this. So, are you seeing my screen?
Yeah,
This
your
this
meeting's over.
guy.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, there it is.
All right,
Jalen,
that I
yeah.
just want everybody, in case there's one or two people on Earth don't know what he looks like. That's Jalen Brunson holding the I was going to say the Lombardi Trophy, but the basketball championship trophy. All right, let me end the share. Okay, now so New York City here, blue, orange, Knicks winning the championship for the first time in 53 years. And listen, if you're not a sports person, you're just gonna have to take our word for it. How big this is? It's. I look. My students have told me I look 10 years younger than I did 2 months ago since the Knicks won the championship. Now, Bob is a fan of all all the Chicago teams: Blackhawks, the Chicago Bulls, the White Sox is his favorite, and the Bears, right? And you
Yeah.
also root for the Cubs, although you like the White Sox better.
I don't root particularly against the Cubs unless
Right.
they're playing the White Sox.
Okay.
But yeah, the White Sox are my team.
All right. Now, if you're a fan of all four teams, like I am, four sports, that means you have four times the chance of winning a championship than, say, for example, somebody who only likes baseball, right? So if you start the clock at my last championship, which was the 86 Mets, that's 40 years times four. I've gone 160 seasons without a fucking championship. All right. Finally, we got it. So now everybody knows Jalen Brunson,
Jalen.
nobody bigger. So tell us now. So Bob blew my mind about, I don't know, six, like maybe in the second round of the playoffs, right? The Knicks signed Jalen Brunson as a free agent in 22. It was great. Never thought they would win the championship. That first year, I said, this is the best free agent signing we ever had. And when they did that, and all these years, Bob and I have been friends, 28 years, something like that. And when we're not talking about dark shadows, we're talking about the only thing more important than that, which is sports. Never once did Bob mention that he knows Brunson. So what's the story?
Well, I wouldn't say that I know him. I mean, I officiated him when he was in high school
Oh,
at
you know
Stevenson High School. Yeah, I mean, I had Jalen in probably a half dozen games. And Stevenson was always good. At that time, Pat Ambrose was their coach, and Pat did a great job with the
Well,
kids.
wait a minute. Who's Steven? What's Stevenson?
Stevenson High School.
Is that from Adelaide Stevenson?
Yeah, Adelaide
Okay.
Stevenson High School,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
And Jalen was a good player. I mean, obviously he got better as he got older, but he was the leader of his team in high school, even when he was an underclassman. So no, yeah.
Yeah, so you said that he gave you a hard time and you gave him a hard time. Because
No.
Jalen he draws more offensive fouls than any player in the NBA. And you said he was trying to pull that with you.
Well, I wouldn't say that he tried to pull it with me particularly. Part of his game is to draw contact, and maybe a lot of the time he could be initiating the contact. That's something that the referee has to decipher.
Well, didn't you give him a warning?
No, I don't believe. Nowadays we have we didn't at the time that Jalen played in high school. Now we have what's called a flop warning in high school. So if we feel a player is flopping on a play, we just give a signal like this. We don't blow our whistle. We let it play out, and then at a point where the ball's under control, we could blow our whistle and issue a flop warning to the table, and then the next flop warning would be a technical foul.
When a player is good at drawing offensive fouls, that's sort of a skill. I mean, I'm making jokes and everything, but he's not really flopping. If you position yourself in enough time, NBA refs call it.
Right. Yeah. Well, to go along with flopping, what's including in that is the head bob. So, flipping your head without unnecessarily trying to feign contact. Now, I'm not saying that was Jalen's game, but that's part of the flop warning.
Now, yeah, how good was he? And did you ever think he would be a top 5 NBA player?
Honestly, I did not. I really didn't think he had that great of an outside shot. He's tremendous. I just want to say that right now. Knicks fans, don't hate me. He is tremendous. His outside shot is tremendous. But that's something that he's developed since he was at Stevenson. I mean, he spent 4 years at Villanova, and I commend him for that. Actually, staying 4 years in college. That's great. But he has turned himself into, yeah, he's a premier NBA player. And the best thing about him is he's a great kid. Because what a lot of people probably don't know about Jalen Brunson that I know, because I live here, he's done a lot for Stevenson High School. And he doesn't advertise that, but he's done a lot for the programs at Stevenson. And much like Fred VanVleet has done up in Rockford at Auburn. And I refereed Fred, and Fred was a tremendous high school basketball player too.
Yeah.
And he was somebody that we all knew was going to go to the NBA. And he, he's had a great career in the NBA.
Did you know Rick Brunson, his father?
I never interacted with Rick. No, I believe he might have been an assistant at Stevenson when Pat was the head coach there, but I never had any interaction with Rick.
Well, it's funny because Rick Brunson was a player on the Knicks. In fact, he was on the team that last went to the finals in 1999. He was the 12th man. He may have played like 8 seconds in that final. And
right.
who knew,
Well, you could see the relationship between Rick and Jalen. It's a great relationship,
Yeah, no, I think that is
Rick's probably.
Yeah, I was, it's the coolest thing that like I said, you remember when we had that conversation on the phone where it blew my mind. I mean, you can say you didn't know him, but still, you certainly knew the kind of player he was. He was the best player on his team.
Oh yeah, definitely, no question about it. And he's just got. I mean, and it's attributed to his father. I mean, he just knew the game of basketball at a very young age, and just very well, you see his demeanor out on the court. He's very even tempered out on the court.
Yeah.
I mean, if Jalen Brunson gets upset, there's a reason he gets upset.
Yeah.
He doesn't just get upset for no reason.
I mean, he has brought so much joy to Knicks fans everywhere, obviously here in New York. And I'm going to tell you, and I know my sports. Every move they made, getting Karl Anthony Towns, getting OG Anunoby, never once did I think they would win a championship. It's been a joyful time. There's 2 more things I want to get to before we wrap up, and I want to see what you think of this. I'm taking a shot, not at you. I'm taking a shot at your profession. I think it's absolutely outrageous the way the NBA refs are protecting Wembanyama. He's the face of the league. I think it was an embarrassment that, the way they wouldn't call a foul on him, a flagrant, because they knew he'd be suspended, and they wanted to go 6 games because that's how they make money. They didn't want the Knicks to win in 5. That was so obvious. I mean, what did you think of all that?
Well, I'm not gonna get criticize the NBA officials, but I will tell you this, and this is something that my fellow high school officials, and I want to stress high school to your viewers. This is what my fellow high school referees that referee upper level varsity high school games. We feel that if we refereed an NBA game, if we refereed a high school game like an NBA game is officiated, we would be fired in high school, because we play a different basketball game. The NBA is a very physical game, and that physicality is not allowed at the high school level. You cannot displace players and not have fouls called at the high school level. And you see that in the NBA all the time. So I can't, I don't think, I can't really tell you exactly how I feel about the NBA. I mean, I just feel like the NBA basketball is totally different than high school basketball. I think it's a different game.
Are there any guys that you're sort of hinted at that they want you to protect, like stars in high school, or that doesn't go on in high school?
No, well, I mean, you're aware of who the star players are, but I could, just speaking for myself, when I'm officiating the game, I don't think about. I'm just officiating a series of plays, one play after another. I got the privilege of knowing former NBA referee Ron Elysiak, and Ron taught me a lot about officiating. And he, and he told me it's just a series of plays. You're doing one play after another. Every play is its own individual entity, and that's how you have to officiate.
Do you get to enjoy the game, or it's that when you're reffing, it's just a job kind of thing?
Well, no, if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. I mean, I feel refereeing basketball, out of all the sports, doing basketball, football, baseball, refereeing is the most challenging, refereeing basketball, because it's perpetual motion. You have to decide in an instant on the block charge calls. Right. And it's very challenging. And if you're a former athlete like myself, that's one way to challenge yourself. If you're not playing sports anymore, just to be able to challenge yourself in that type of arena, to be the best you could be, to try to get every call right. We don't get every call right. I mean, there's no referee that's going to say he gets everything right. But, having rules knowledge, knowing how to apply the rules, that goes a long way toward being a good official.
Okay. So, all right. One more thing I want to get to before we wrap up. Your team, the Chicago Bulls, has caused more torture to my Knicks than any team in history. So let me go back to that era from 89 to 94 that they played in the Bulls beat them in 89. Bulls beat them in 91. Bulls beat them in 92. Bulls beat them in 93. And then when Jordan retired for those 2 years, the Knicks finally won, but they still had to go 7 games. They lost all 3 in Chicago. In those 5 series, 15 games in Chicago, and the Knicks lost 14 of those games. They couldn't beat them. What was the thought in Chicago in the heyday about not just the Bulls, because they were always winning? They had 2 three-peats. They won in 91, 92, 93. Jordan retires for almost 2 years. He comes back. They win in 96, 97, 98. What was the thought about playing the Knicks? Were you ever worried? Because it turns out you shouldn't have been.
No, I mean, when you got Michael Jordan, you don't really worry too much, and I mean, Michael, and you got to remember the Knicks weren't the team that we were concerned. It was the Pistons and Isaiah Thomas and Bill Laimbeer and those guys, right. Because they laid it on us in the mid to late 80s.
Right.
So,
and then you got them back.
And then we got them back.
Right.
And so that was the team that in Chicago, that was the team that we focused on, were the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah. All right. Thanks. Right. So, Phil Jackson is a very interesting guy here. Phil Jackson is hated by a certain percentage of Knicks fans. I'm not one of them, and I'll tell you why. So Phil Jackson he was a player on the 70 Knicks championship, the only 2 they won. And more important, because he was injured. 73, he was a bigger part of them. Decades later, he comes back and he's hired as the Knicks president, and it was a disaster. Well, in between all that, he wins 6 with the Bulls, and like I said, beating the Knicks pretty much every year. He won 3 with the Lakers. So he has Scottie and Michael, then he has Kobe and Shaq. What was the thought of Phil Jackson? Because when he retired as a player, he's the last guy I would have thought would have been a Hall of Fame coach. He wore sandals to his interview with the Bulls, and they wanted to throw him out. He was like a smoking reefer. You never would have thought that about Phil. What was the thought about Phil Jackson there?
Well, I mean, everybody, I mean, I think most coaches would tell you they're only as good as their players. I mean, if you win, you're a great coach. If you lose, you're terrible, So, I mean, when you got Michael Jordan, it's hard to lose with Michael Jordan.
Yeah, but Phil has been walking around talking about his 12th championship. What is it, 12? So 6, 9, and 2 with the Knicks, whatever.
You got Michael and Scottie as your foundation. Right. Then you've got Kobe and Shaq as a foundation. I think you or I could coach those teams and win with those guys. Kobe was tenacious, So was Shaq.
So Jordan retires the first time, and finally, now we know we're going to beat the Bulls. Fucking series went to 7, and it came down to the last minute.
And finally beat. And there was a big officiating call by Hugh Hollins in that game, if you remember correctly.
Yeah. what was the game when Scotty refused to get on the court?
I
That
think
was
that was the Hugh Holl. I think, well, there was the one game, the Hugh Hollins, that call still being questioned in Chicago and plenty of other places
yeah,
too.
yeah.
Otherwise, the Bulls might have won another championship that year, but you
Well,
know,
all right. So one series, I just want to ask you this last thing. If you remember this, obviously it's insanity to say that the Knicks were better than the Bulls, all right? But in the 1 year, so this was 93, this was the third year of the first three-peat. That
right.
year, that year on, the Knicks had the better record. They had home court advantage. Therefore, they were the favorites in that series, and they won the first two games at Madison Square Garden. So naturally, they lose the next two in Chicago. They got to win game. Everybody knows they're dead if they don't win game. They're not winning a game in Chicago. That was what's referred to as the Charles Smith game. Charles Smith, 6'10", had 5 chances to make this layup, can't get it in. And I mean, he's a lovely man, but to this day, he was his birthday the other day on social media. He's 50 something. And Knick fans, some were saying, I'm not wishing that guy a happy birthday. Some said, now that we won the championship, I'll wish him a happy birthday. You remember that game?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, sometimes the ball bounces your way, sometimes it doesn't, I mean,
that guy is 6'10". That's the stuff the
I
fucking
know
game.
we call that a bunny, that like
So,
hey, he just missed that bunny,
yeah, well, so now game 6 in Chicago. I mean, everybody knows you could have mailed it in. They were Knicks weren't winning that game, if they let them have 7 guys on the court. So anyway, one last question: the last Bulls championship, 1998. How many years ago is that?
28 years ago now.
So your team hasn't won for 28 years. What a kick in the head that is. My team won a month ago. How do you like them there apples?
Yeah, good for you, Frankie. Hey, but I had the Blackhawks.
They won in what, the 14?
They won 3 cups, 2010, 13, and 15, I
Was it
believe.
15 or 14? Okay.
I think it was 10, 13, and 15, or maybe it could have been 10, 13, and 14.
Right.
And then, of course, it's been a while since the Bears won, but
85 Bears.
2005 for these guys after an 80-something year drought.
White Sox, and the Bulls. So you got one in every. Right. So yeah. I have now the Knicks 3, Islanders 4. That's 43 years. Mets 40 years, 86, 69. And of course, Vikings never. So that's all right.
Yeah.
I got this one. So, for 53 years, right? We'll keep wearing my Knicks stuff. So
I was excited that the Knicks won. I was excited for Brunson because, again, he took less money to play. I mean, who does that? And he took less money to play so that the team could be better. I mean, that shows you how, what kind of a man he is. And
I mean, everything you said about him is the Brunson we know. He never trash talks. He's a clean player. He's 6'2", so he's even for a guard, he's not tall.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you,
he's incredible.
I mean, I told you, I know my sports. I never, as good as they are, I never thought they would win the championship. So we're happy. So I appreciate you sharing this time. So I guess I'll see you at the Dark Shadows event.
I'll see you next week. Yeah, we'll have some fun there, have a cocktail, and talk about our championships.
Yeah, I may bring up the Knicks once or twice next week.
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. I mean, yeah.
All right, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, take care, Frank.
Bye.